Something is attacking you in your dream. Your parents think you're going crazy. A dream demon is after your friends. Now you're out of options. You just want to go to school and get the best sleep. Let's see if Nancy Thompson can stay awake and stop Freddy Krueger in this condensed version of A Nightmare on Elm Street. The film begins with a woman running around a spooky boiler room. She spots the most scariest thing on planet. And if you're easily frightened, please look away right now. Ah, it's a sheep! She presses on with her quest to find the exit. Unaware that something is stalking her, the thing lets off a maniacal laugh. The entity slices through fabric, giving her a sudden scare, making her flee in terror. It appears to be toying with her. Cornered at a dead end, the entity lunges from behind, poised to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, she jolts awake in her bed, relieved to discover that it was only just a dream. Her mom comes in to check on her, asking if she's okay. After hearing all that screaming, Tina Gray, now revealed as the woman, reassures her mother that it was just a dream. However, Tina then notices her nightgown is slashed open, as it was from the claws of the creature on the nightmare. Terrified, she grabs her crucifix for protection. The scene cuts to some lovely innocent children playing jump rope in the yard while singing a catchy kids nursery rhyme. Let's sing it with them. Come on, everybody knows it. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Wait. 1, 2 should be buckling shoes if I remember. Maybe I just heard it wrong. 3, 4, better lock your door. Better lock your door? Well, I mean, it's good to be safe when you're at home. That's fine. This is probably like the generational alpha version. 5, 6, grab a crucifix. Crucifix? Okay, this is getting kind of religious, but go on. 7, 8, gonna stay up late. Stay up late? Not if it's a school day for your kids. 9, 10, never sleep again. Well, what if you're tired? That wasn't the nursery rhyme I grew up to, but no well. The following night, Tina invites her best friend, Nancy Thompson, and her boyfriend, Glenn Lance, for a sleepover. Tina is still shaken by her frightening nightmare of a man with a disfigured face and unsettling long fingernails. When Tina mentions the fingernails, Nancy recalls having a similar dream about a man in a tattered red and green sweater with knife-like fingers. Tina speculates that they may have dreamt about the same person, but Glenn dismisses the idea as it's impossible. Just then, they hear a noise coming from the outside. They all go to check it out. Glenn makes the most scariest threat ever heard.
I'm gonna punch out your ugly lights, whoever you are.
Oh, I bet he scared whoever was out there. He gets tackled. Oh, maybe not. It's just Rod Lane, Tina's boyfriend, scaring the life out of them. Soon later, as they fall asleep, something begins to emerge from the walls. Just before it fully appears, Nancy wakes up, causing it to vanish. She looks at the crucifix, still clutched in her hand, and carefully places it back on the wall. Then she drops a beat on the wall in case she wants to start a Drake diss track. Now in the backyard, Tina hears someone calling her name. She decides to go outside in the middle of the night because someone is calling out to her. With no shoes, no weapons, and no pants on, she heads towards the voice. Something spooky scares her. Oh my god, it's a trash can lid! I can't stand the sight of aluminum in the form of a circle as well. Turning around, she encounters the true menace. The disfigured man emerges, stretching out his arms as he pursues Tina. As she attempts to return to the house, she gets caught and thrown to the ground. In the real world, Rod sees slashes appearing on her body, and her body flying around the air covered in blood. As her body gets dragged to the ceiling, it then drops on the bed, executing her. Nancy and Glenn rushes to her room after hearing her screams. When they arrive, they find the room in disarray, covered in blood, and Rod is nowhere to be found. The next morning, Nancy is on her way to school when someone suddenly grabs her from the bushes. To her surprise, it's just Rod. He insists that he did not commit the crime and that something else was in the room with them. Fearing that no one will believe him, he refuses to turn himself in. Just then, Nancy's father, police officer Don Thompson, appears right behind him, ordering him to stay put. Terrified, Rod attempts to flee, but is quickly apprehended by awaiting officers. Nancy is furious, realizing her father just used her as bait to capture Rod. In class, Nancy dozes off during the teacher's very exciting lecture. When she glances outside the classroom door, she sees Tina covered in blood and lying in a body bag, reaching out to her. But when she looks again, Tina has vanished, leaving only a puddle of blood on the floor. Nancy steps into the hallway and sees Tina's bloody body being dragged away. Following the trail of blood, Nancy then finds herself into the boiler room, the same boiler room where Tina saw that very scary sheep. Why was there even a sheep in the boiler room? The disfigured man shows himself and flashes her. He slices his chest, revealing green blood and maggots, causing Nancy to flee. She gets cornered in a dead end. The disfigured man slowly creeps towards her with his menacing finger blades. With his best "What's up" impersonation, he says, "Come to Freddy." Nancy gets a clever idea of burning her arm to wake herself up. She wakes up in class, all irrational, scaring the other students. Upon leaving the class, she checks her arm to realize that the burn mark is real, leaving her to wonder if something happened in a dream, it actually will affect her in real life. Later, Nancy visits Rod in jail. He explains that while he couldn't see the attacker clearly, he saw sharp knives slicing through her and thought it was just another dream like the one he had previously. That's why he didn't act. Rod describes the man in his dream as having knives for fingers, which alarms Nancy. She leaves, realizing that they all share the same disturbing dream. Back at Nancy's house, she's taking a bath and humming a nursery rhyme, the same one that the kids were singing earlier. As she drifts off to sleep, Freddy's hand emerges from the water, reaching towards her. Her mother knocks on the door, waking her up and warning her not to fall asleep, as people have drowned while sleeping in a tub. Nancy reassures her mom that she's gonna be okay, but she falls asleep again. This time, she is pulled underwater, and she fights back against whatever is dragging her down and manages to barely escape the tub safely. Later that evening, Nancy decides to visit Rod. Going barefoot, she looks into his cell and sees Freddy entering the room. Freddy walks right through the jail bars and laughs at her. Nancy shouts at Rod, trying to waken him up. Then, Tina's voice calls out to her, her body still in a bag, with a bug crawling out of her mouth. Oh, okay, she's in a dream. Nobody wears shoes in a dream, so that's fine. Freddy suddenly emerges from the bushes and chases her back home. As she runs up the stairs, they transform into marshmallows. Reaching her room, she screams at the mirror, insisting that this isn't real. Freddy leaps out the mirror and grabs her, but just before he can finish her off, the alarm clock goes off, jolting her awake. She angrily confronts her boyfriend Glenn for failing to wake her up. Glenn was supposed to stay awake and wake her up when she seems like she's having a nightmare, but instead, they both fall asleep. Concerned that something might be happening to Rod, Nancy and Glenn rush to the police station, only to find that he has just hung himself. Or did he? The following morning, Nancy's mom decides to take her to see a sleep specialist to see if it'll help her anyway. As Nancy is connected to the sleep monitoring equipment, she falls asleep and experiences another nightmare. The doctor and her mom wake her up, noticing her frantic movements. Upon checking, they find that she has sustained a wound and even pulled a Freddy's hat from the dream into the real world, leaving her mom stunned.
What in tarnation's going on here?
Back at Nancy's house, her mom asks her if she wanted to know who Fred Krueger was. What? She knew this whole time and pretended like her daughter is crazy? That's messed up. She explains that he was a child murderer who killed at least 20 kids in the neighborhood. The police eventually caught him, but he was released because someone forgot to sign a search warrant. A group of parents later tracked him down to the boiler room where he used to take the children, and they set the whole place on fire, burning him alive. She then shows Nancy his knife and reassures her nothing to worry about because he's gone. Later that night, Nancy plans to sneak out the house to meet up with Glenn. Just before she leaves, her phone rings, even though it's not connected to the wall. Uh-oh. She picks it up, only to hear Freddy saying, he's her boyfriend now, with a tongue sticking out. What's up? Freaked out, she stomps out the phone and tries to rush to Glenn's house, but her mom blocked the door. Over at Glenn's house, he's just sleeping while listening to music and watching TV. Then Freddy pulls him into the bed. All of a sudden, like me in the toilet after a night of Taco Bell, blood shoots out. And my mom's reaction when I forget to lock the door to the bathroom and she opens it.
Holy shit! Believe it.
Across the street, Nancy watches as her dad arrives at the crime scene. He calls her and she tells him that she will pull him out of the dream and he needs to be there to arrest Freddy when she does. He agrees and she prepares a trap for Freddy when he appears. Before going to sleep, Nancy sets a timer to wake herself up and then drips off. In her dream, she heads down to the basement to retrieve Freddy's glove, but finds it missing. She then enters the boiler room in search for him, calling out for Krueger. She gets no response. She then ventures deeper and discovers Glenn's headphones. Enraged, she yells out for him again, and this time Freddy finally appears. She leaps off a platform, only to find herself back in front of her house. Freddy confronts her, but she grabs him just as the alarm goes off, waking her up. Back in reality, oh, there goes gravity. She starts to question her sanity when Freddy suddenly appears from behind her. She quickly locks him in a room and calls for her police officer daddy. Freddy escapes the room but ends up falling for a Home Alone style trap, tumbling down the stairs. He then falls victim to another trap and she even manages to set him on fire. Damn, Freddy, you slacking! Her dad arrives at last, smashing through the door. They discover Freddy attacking her mom, and both of them vanish into the bed. After her dad leaves, Freddy re-emerges from the bed. She ultimately defeats him by refusing to believe in him, causing him to disappear. The film ends with her mom still alive and her friends arriving to pick her up in their new Bugatti. Suddenly, the top of the car closes by itself with green and red stripes, and the car drives away on its own. In a final twist, Freddy emerges and grabs her mom right through the door.